now. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to pick up my PowerPoint here. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, so how many of you all can see my screen, see a PowerPoint? Okay, great. Now let's just talk about a little bit of truth about consulting, just for a second. I know most of you are like me, and you want to work with small businesses. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what we're actually looking at in terms of our actual goal. And all I want you to do tonight is just really think deeply about what it is that you want, what it is that you're pursuing. Because most of us, right, most of us pursued consulting because, number one, it looks like a pretty good gig to make, to make a better amount of what we want to pull in terms of income, in addition to being able to do this on our own time. Now, here's one of the truths about consulting. Would you agree that if you don't prospect, you aren't going to see any profit, right? In other words, you've got to be out there. You've got to be actively involved. If you're not prospecting, more than likely, you're probably not bringing in a lot of income. You've got to be actively involved in your business. And so what I'm going to ask you to do tonight is to take a real step back and assess your time and the amount of resources that you're putting into strictly to get consulting clients. And here's the question. What would actually happen if you got all the clients that you wanted? Right? What would really happen if you got exactly what you wanted? What would the math tell you about how much you're going to actually bring in terms of actual dollars? And for most of us, it would be a pretty sizable recurring income. Would you agree? If you got everything you wanted in terms of being a consultant, if you got all the clients you wanted tomorrow, if I were to hover over you and to drop all of the dollars right into your account, or all of the clients that you needed, you'd probably get, I'd say, you'd probably have what you needed in terms of a consulting income. Would you agree? Yep, most of you would. Now, the other thing, you and I, we have probably, how many of you all here have purchased a WSO or a consulting product to show you how to consult better? How many of you in the last, I'd say, 3 months have purchased WSOs? Several. Would you agree, and I would certainly agree, and I know that there's some discussion out there about how WSOs are no good. I'd say within the consulting space, the WSOs that I've seen, that I've purchased, are actually pretty good, and they actually work. Would you agree? Yeah, they're pretty much of some pretty high caliber, and they really do, a lot of them do what they say they'll do, right? They actually help you to overcome some of the barriers that you might have in terms of being able to sell your services to small businesses. Yeah, there's some pretty good WSOs out there, and they continue to come. Now, here is the question that I have to ask you. Do you want all of the clients that you can actually handle? That's the question. If all of the WSOs work as well as they can, if you really applied them, do you really want what they give you? Do you really want all of the clients that you want? Now, I'm going to ask you, and if you're here, feel free to answer this question. Okay? Why did you get into offline marketing? Why are you doing offline marketing? Are you doing it to get the largest number of clients that you have, that you can get, or are you doing it for recurring income? Okay, which are you doing it for? If I were to ask you, really, and just be honest, because I know, because if I were to answer this question, 3 months ago, I probably would have instinctively said, even if I didn't ask you the last question, I would have instinctively said to get as many clients as I can to build a recurring income, right? But is the goal to get the number of clients that you can get, or is the goal recurring income? I would have to say, more than likely, the goal has to be recurring income. Right, it's recurring income. Most everyone would agree that what we're after is recurring income. And we want the recurring income that a client can write us a check and they might have a few zeros behind it, so that we can then kind of rely on that income over and over again, as long as we are supplying the services that they're paying for. Yes, exactly, Jerry. Now, let me ask you something, and no one can see your answer except for me, right? No one can see your answer except for me. I want you to answer this question in terms of really hard, too hard, not quite hard, or it's pretty easy. Maybe that's confusing. Easy or hard? How hard are you working for recurring income? Would you say you're working really hard right now for recurring income? Not hard enough, some of you. Now, how hard are you working in consulting for recurring income? Now, most, if not all of us, if I were to ask you, if you were to answer this question, most of us are working really hard for recurring income. Would you agree? If I were to count the number of hours that you put into building this business, would you say that it's a lot of hours? Yes, a lot of you. Would you say it's a lot of intense hours? Yes, a lot of intense hours that you're putting in to do recurring income, to build a recurring income stream in consulting. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do an exercise for yourself, okay? Just mentally, you don't have to do much. Just think about the month of August, all right? Just think about the month of August. Just do some ballpark numbers in your head. Now, I want you to take the amount of profit that you made and divide it by the number of hours that you spent. Now, this is hours that you spent servicing the client. This is hours that you spent putting in place SEO or talking to your outsourcers. I want you to take your profit and divide it by the number of hours that you spent. Now, even if you made a substantial monthly income and you divided your profit by the hours that you spent, are you satisfied with consulting? Okay, some of you. Good. And the question's always going to be, if you're satisfied with it, is it worth doing? Could you make more, or could you generate more income doing something more or something else? Now, I'm going to tell you why I'm posing this to you. If you got everything you wanted, if you got all the clients that you wanted, would consulting still be worth doing? And the answer for most of us would still be yes. But I still want you to stay with me here, because I'm going to tell you about something that changed everything for me. Okay, and it really happened about 3 weeks ago. Now, I know that most of you, read this book by Robert Kiyosaki years ago, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as did I. Right? I read this book years ago. Now, here's what happened. You know, how many of you all have ever gotten some bootleg internet marketing products? I did. Okay, I got one. I got some maybe about maybe about a month ago, or maybe about 2 or 3 months ago. And on this bootleg internet marketing product, there was a recording by Robert Kiyosaki, and he was being candid about something that I had not heard any place else in his books, in his tapes, in anything that he sells. This was a conversation that he was having with another person. I never heard this any place in anything that he wrote. Now, if I were to ask you, what business do you think Robert Kiyosaki is in? Feel free to answer. What business is he in? Okay, answer whatever you think business that you think he's in. Okay, he's in sales, some people say. Okay, some people say he's in consulting. That's exactly right. He started with the Velcro wallet. And Keith and Ron, you are right on. You're actually right on, as are you, Charlotte. Robert Kiyosaki is no longer in real estate. He's no longer in consulting. Robert Kiyosaki makes most of his money in information marketing. Now, how many of you knew that the actual book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was not written to sell books, but it was written to sell a game? And what he discovered in selling the book was that there was more to generating passive income than anything else he was doing. And so here's what I'm going to ask you. If you've got the most famous consultants, Carnegie, Covey, and even consulting, how many of these folks, right? I know Covey's dead, but how many of them still do consulting every day? How many of them are after as many clients as they can get? Actually, none of them. None of these gentlemen are after as many clients as they can get. Why? Because for the amount of time that it takes in order to be in a position to do consulting, for the amount of time that it takes to generate that kind of income, information marketing actually puts them in a position to consult with whom they want, at the rate at which they want, and they spend 70% of their time marketing information. Now, how many of you knew that? Most of you did. If that is the case, what stops us from marketing information? What stops us from spending the majority of our time marketing information? If information, number one, raises our fees, allows us to charge more, puts us in a position to give. Now, let me ask you another question, and this is what changed everything. How many of you have something to sell to everyone? Right? This is what changed everything for me. How many of us have something to sell to everyone? How many of us have something to sell to our prospects? Not most of us. right? How many of us have something to sell with the folks who cannot afford your services? Okay, not many of us, right? And continue to think about this. How many of us have something to sell to someone, right? Something to sell to someone who might not want to work with you now, but who really likes what you do. Right. Most of us have it. Most of us know how to do it. However, most of us don't, not because we're dumb, not because we're lazy, not even because we don't know how to do it. Most of us do it because we continue on to do consulting just because it's there. Right? The consulting income is good until when? Until we have a client. How many of us have had clients? And I'm gonna put up both hands here. How many of us have had clients that we've had to marry? Now I've got, Mrs. Harper here, and Mrs. Harper probably doesn't want me marrying someone else. How many of you have been married before to a client? Yes, some of you. And the point isn't that clients are bad, but the point of this is that you've got to have another way of generating income on a daily basis, right, that doesn't depend on your having to be there. And if you're looking at the top consultants, these are consultants that have reached the top of their field. 70% of their time is spent on marketing information. If you're going to reach the pinnacle of being able to have control over your time and the ability to charge what you want, the equation has to change, right? That's the truth about consulting. Now, some of you already probably knew that already, but the problem is that most of us don't have time to stop and put it all together. But how many of you have noticed, that you're finding a substantial number of consultants putting out WSOs? A lot of them. Now, here's what I want to do. Let's do the math on a WSO for a second. Now, if you have a very well-selling WSO for, let's say, $9.95 or $9, 1,000 of them sold will be $9,000. Okay? Once you pay out your affiliates, that's another $4,500. Okay, if you outsourced the copy and you outsourced the graphics and you outsourced the putting together of the product, you'd pay out another $1,000. If you split with a partner, what does that put in your pocket for the month for that WSO? About $1,500. So is a WSO the answer? It might be. Right? It might be if you put out 4 months. Now, here's what I'm going to suggest to you in this webinar. And it's this. Right? Consulting. Now, I have consulting as a 4-lane highway, but it's actually 3. All of us are selling services to clients. Some of us sell products to other consultants, but not many of us sell products to clients. And that's what separates most of us from the Stephen Coveys. Now, again, I understand scale and I understand everything that they've gotten big, but basically, the only thing that separates us from them is the ability to sell products to clients even while we sell our services. I'm going to take a step back here for a second. Okay, so we can either continue to sell our services to clients, and we can sell products to other consultants. But regardless of how we do the math, the only way that selling products, information products, makes sense is to sell them at a price that makes sense for us to do. The WSO, while nice and can put some cash in your pocket, isn't necessarily where you want to be. You want to be at the place where you can put a product together that somebody is going to be willing to pay you what it's actually going to be worth. Is everybody with me, or do you agree? Okay, very good. Okay, so here's what I'm putting together for those of you who want to participate, basically. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a membership site for you on any WordPress blog that you already have, and I'm going to integrate it into JVZoo. So basically, you're going to have a product or a membership site done for you and ready to go. I'm also going to train you in how to do it in Wrap and a member. I'm also going to give you access to the small business webinars that I'm selling to local business owners at $97 a month. Okay, I'm going to give you the access to those so that you can develop your own. So, for instance, the first webinars I'm going to be doing is going to be on doing a USP and exponential marketing. Now, I'm also going to be giving you access to a community on Facebook, but for the most part, all that stuff is basically going to be driven toward giving you the opportunity to have your first product set up and ready to go, ready for affiliates in JVZoo. And all you're going to have to do is have your WordPress blog set up, and I'm going to have my team set it up for you. I'm going to give you all the training that you need, and I'm going to set it up for you, and it's going to be ready to go. Now, the cost was going to be $17.95 monthly. I'm going to do it just for anyone who watches the webinar and wants to participate in this community. Now, all I'm doing is putting together a community of people who want to build a passive income in consulting. That's what I want to do. So if you are willing to join me in building a passive income in a community of people who's dedicated to that, then this is for you. And really and truly, the JVZoo setup, that's a bribe. I want to be able to participate in this community with you, and I don't need a whole lot of people. It doesn't really matter if I have a whole lot of folks, but I'm going to set up your entire first product. You'll have your membership site set up without having to buy software, and it's going to be ready to go so that when you get ready to sell to business, or you can sell to anyone, doesn't really matter who you set up for. Your membership site's going to be done, and you'll be able to set up, and you'll be ready to do products and services to anyone that you need. But I'm also going to train you on how to set it up. I'm going to teach you how to create the product. I'm going to teach you how to do it in WordPress. I'm going to teach you how to do it in A-Member and Rapid Action Profits. But basically, I'm looking for people to work with me in a community, right? And all I'm going to do, and the setup is a bribe. Okay, it's a bribe. So I'm going to do all the work for you, but I do want, I'd say maybe 10 or 15 people to work together with me. Okay, so there's not going to be any other charges. I'm going to be supplying all of the, I'm going to be supplying all the content and everything else that you need to start your own product. So that's really tonight's presentation. And so if you're interested, you can go to gainmindshare.net/passive. And then let's get together. I'll set up your WordPress site. I'll integrate it into JVZoo. You'll be ready to recruit affiliates as soon as you're ready and you know what your product's going to be. Okay, really simple. Okay, so I'll be putting out an email this weekend about that. It's really not going to last that long. I really want to get back to giving the Jerry, all you'll need is a WordPress site. If you have a domain name, you have hosting, I'll set up the WordPress site, and then I'll set up the membership, and then I'll integrate it to JVZoo. So all you'll need is really maybe cPanel hosting and your domain. The cost is $777. Yep. One time. So it's not monthly. One time. So yeah, just all you got to do is just go to gainmindshare.net/passive, and you have yourself. Do you need? Oh right, yeah, Brad. The group is about passive offline income, right? It's really going to be, because we're all after active income, but I want to work with people who want to build a passive income in addition to consulting, right? Because really, most of us are burning ourselves out. We're burning out. I'm listening to people, I'm talking to people, and I know it. I can hear it, and I know that if we get all the clients that we want, let's say we actually got 20 clients tomorrow, we go crazy. And the truth of the matter is that consulting, listen, if we got everything that we wanted, right, if we got everything we wanted, it wouldn't be everything that we need. You need the ability to generate a passive income. And okay, let's see. So passive income through the work. Actually, Brad, the product setup is what I'm doing. So in other words, the passive income you're going to generate is going to be through the site that I'm putting up for you in JVZoo and with your WordPress site. So in other words, you're going to have a full-blown membership site, and you're going to be able to recruit affiliates, and you're not going to have to pay for any membership site software. It's all going to be done on WordPress. So that's really what it's going to be. So you can set up the product for anybody else that you want, right? And if you want to set it up for if you want to set it up for just a regular WSO, that would be fine. But this is going to be set up through JVZoo, so you can recruit affiliates and recruit them into a membership. It's all going to be done through WordPress. And I'm actually going to train you how to use S2 Member. Yeah. Okay. Yep, Robert. It's at gainmindshare.net/passive. So I'm going to send out a couple of emails this weekend, and I'd say by Monday I'll set up the Facebook group, and we will then start getting together, and we're just going to work together to build a passive income. Okay. Yep. You know what? Let me put it in here. Okay, I just sent that out to everybody. Yeah, and because really and truly, um, consulting is great, but I'm going to say that when I found that out, that really changed everything for me. We've really got to have, I've got to have, you've got to have, if you want a lifestyle business, how many of us got into internet marketing because it was supposed to be a lifestyle? I mean, really. I'm not saying that you're lazy, right, and I'm lazy, but we got into this because we wanted a better lifestyle, right? And so the lifestyle part of this, we're not going to be able to do if we're humping for consulting, if we're constantly consulting. Yeah, it's a great way to generate passive income, but you've got to be ready, and you can't do that unless you're selling products. Now, we'll talk about list building, and we're going to work together, and we're going to build on each other, and we're going to help each other. So I don't need a big community, right? This doesn't have to be, I don't need to sell 1,000 copies of this. I just want a group of people, and we're going to work together until we build a passive income in consulting or whatever else it is. Okay, everybody, so if you don't have any other questions, that's about it. It's about 9:39, so you still got the rest of the night to get in there. And I don't know how many of you all are football fans or you're baseball fans, but you've still got the rest of the night to catch the football game. All right, everybody, thanks very much. Have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.